Did you ever do gymnastics growing up?
But I was. This is going to surprise you, but on the balance beam and the parallel bars, I was a whiz. No, I never did.
Welcome back, sports fans. We're coming to you in the middle of the madness of March. And Darren, even though there hasn't been the typical dramatic upsets, exception McNeese,
Right.
Arkansas fans would say, "What about us? What about us?"
That's right.
It's been a really good tournament so far.
Yep.
And the SEC, even though it was initially, I saw some posts, people were knocking the SEC's haters, Oh, look at the SEC when they get in with other competition. Well, they just set a record, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But,
absolutely.
But what a great tournament so far. Yep. And I've heard. Have you heard from some of our listeners in West Virginia? I've heard from some of them this week, and
yes,
boy, they are still going through it, aren't they?
They are, and they're thankful that or happy, maybe is better that we brought it up, and even though we're not an SEC podcast, we were willing to say, hey,
we are an SEC podcast.
I mean, even though we're not a Big 12.
The madness has taken Darren. It's already taken him. He's happening. Gone. Well, West Virginia got a raw deal, and Coach DeVries, how all that went down. And the more I hear about that from folks up there about that this was something that was going on back in December, conversations about leaving, and it's just it's not a good look all the way around. And West Virginia is a quality program. I hope they get a good coach in there who realizes what a privilege it is to coach at that university. So West Virginia fans, we are all in your corner on this one, from the NCAA snub to what Coach DeVries did to y'all leaving for Indiana, the way that he chose to do that.
Yep.
We are in your corner all the way. So thank you for listening, watching, however you choose to take in the show. We appreciate you coming on board, and
absolutely,
we're with you 100%.
Absolutely.
In fact, I think as we're recording this, the West Virginia women are playing North Carolina.
I believe that's right. So go West Virginia. I think we can agree on that one.
Does the West Virginia women's team have more quad 1 wins than the West Virginia men's team did?
They have more quad 1 wins. Oh, you're talking about? Oh, you said West Virginia?
No, North Carolina.
North Carolina. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they've got 2, they do, right?
Well, the North Carolina men's stay in the NCAA tournament was short-lived. They got knocked out by perennial basketball powerhouse Ole Miss.
Right, and, exactly.
Hey, no knock on Ole Miss, but this is only the second time that they've gone to the Sweet 16.
Yep.
Hello, Chris Beard.
Yeah. That looks like a pretty decent hire, doesn't it?
I tell you. Wow. I mean, we got a lot to talk about today. So let's get right into it, Darren. Looking at SEC teams, this is on the women's side that are still in the tournament. Now, you'll notice a little faux pas. Alabama is still listed there. They just lost a few minutes ago, literally a few minutes ago. I think it was double overtime to Maryland. And so a really tough loss for the women's team. That's why they're still on here, because the recording time and the end of the game. We tried to put off recording as long as we could. We didn't expect the game to go double overtime.
They just kept playing extra minutes.
Of course, the South Carolina Gamecocks, holding on to that number 1 spot, have not been challenged in this tournament. No. LSU today, first half, a tough one against Florida State, and then they came out and ended up winning by 30 points. Yeah. So Oklahoma handily dealt with Iowa. Wasn't even close. Tennessee, a big win against Ohio State.
Nice win.
Texas is still rolling. Ole Miss, huge upset against Baylor. And then Mississippi State will play later tonight against USC. So that's where the women's side of things stands up in the tournament as of right now. Darren, anything stick out to you?
Well, good on, you look at Ole Miss, Tennessee, both men's and women's programs in the Sweet 16. It's pretty sweet. Is Oklahoma Sweet 16? I'm blank on my mind right now. No, they didn't. Yeah, I had a moment of panic, like I'm forgetting somebody. But since Alabama got put out, it looked like they were going to be that third one to reach that. But I mean, good for both those programs. That's the thing that kind of stands out to me. It's awesome to have both your programs moving in that direction and playing like that.
Yeah, yeah, good times, good times.
Yep.
The Oklahoma men, they played UConn tough.
Oh, that's right.
Came up about 7 points short, I think, in that game. They just hit some dry spells and weren't able to put that complete game together. So that's the women's side. Let's move from the women's side of things to the men's side, where we have some breaking news. That is, Sean Miller has been hired as the new coach of Texas. The Texas Longhorns go to Sean Miller, who had a somewhat successful, although a little controversial career at Arizona.
Yeah.
Before that, he was at Xavier. Then he went back to Xavier. Now the Longhorns come calling, so he's going from Cincinnati, Ohio, down to Austin, Texas. Sean Miller's always been a quality coach. He was a quality basketball player, point guard up at Pitt, gritty player. Darren, how do you think he'll do at Texas?
Well, I mean, everywhere he's gone, he's had success on some level. He had an issue with money and players, which in today's world is no longer an issue. So you have to believe with the resources both on the school side and then on the NIL side that a school like Texas is going to have. You can't help but think he's going to be successful. It's interesting, some of the back channel conversations. Of course, everything behind the scenes, Texas is saying this was our guy from the very beginning, but there was also a report that very loosely floated around a little bit that they had at least through so-and-so talked to so-and-so who talked to so-and-so kind of channels had floated the idea of Nate Oates, and that was shot down pretty quickly. But then also another report came out that said prior to Rodney Terry doing as well as he did in that interim year where he got the Elite Eight, that this was a move that had already been looked at and kind of vetted a little bit. And so I think that's pretty interesting that they were able to go back to him as the choice when things, Rodney Terry had that great run with that Elite Eight during that interim year. Obviously, the next 2 years didn't work out the way anybody hoped. Very short stay in the NCAA tournament this year, but you would think it's a successful move for the program that he'll do well.
Yeah, he's been successful everywhere he's gone. Yep. Texas is a little bit of a different beast.
Yeah,
but
very true.
We'll see how he does with the Longhorns. Speaking of coaches and redemption stories, Darren, we'd be remiss if we don't mention Will Wade, who highly
everybody's
successful
favorite coach
at VCU, highly successful at LSU. His tenure there went down in flames. Just a whole big mess.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't help himself much at all in that. However, McNeese State gave him a shot. He spent 2 years there, took them to 2 straight NCAA tournaments, and now he is heading to North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, home of North Carolina State University, where he's going
the
to
Wolfpack. Isn't that right?
He's going to box it out with the Blue Devils and the Tar Heels, the Demon Deacons. Who else is over there?
Is that Virginia?
I don't know. I think they're all aren't they all cousins?
Yeah.
You got that many schools that close together, they're related
right.
somehow.
That's exactly right.
There was a family feud. Okay, fine. We're going to leave this university. We're starting our own university over here.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. But I think it's first time ever in school history, McNeese State has been to back-to-back tournaments, if I'm correct. So
first win ever.
So fantastic. Good for them. Just down the road a piece in Lake Charles. So good for them. Glad to see them have that success. And just like we were just talking about, Will Wade's whole issue well, outside of the way he handled everything, totally different conversation. But the initial issue that got him in trouble is no longer an issue. So,
Exactly.
I mean, you would think it's a successful formula for him to do well there at NC State.
Yeah, just don't lie to administration this time.
Yeah. Lesson learned, hopefully.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
Let's move on into a new record. As we alluded to a moment ago, the SEC had 14 teams, which was a record for a conference.
Yep.
They have 7 teams advancing to the Sweet 16, which is a new record, breaking the previous record set by the ACC. I think, was it 2016 or something like that? Right. So the SEC is going strong. Yep. Take that, haters. I saw that's you right. When you were that's out there right. tweeting when the first few SEC teams lost, and you were saying, see what happens when they play against other conferences. Well, another record just been set by the that's greatest right. conference currently athletically in the country. The SEC Absolutely. Keeps setting records.
Absolutely. And, you know, there were some tough games to watch. There are some SEC schools that have some work to do if they're going to compete in that level, Vanderbilt included. So not being ugly about any schools, but there are some schools that have some work to do. But you also can't deny, I mean, half the schools are still around when we start the Sweet 16. What are you going to argue about? I mean, not much you can argue about.
Pretty phenomenal. Out of those 7, Darren, which one surprises you the most?
Honestly, Ole Miss. I think I know Chris Beard is a good coach and he's had success previously, but you know, I don't remember exactly. Of course, part of that is selective memory because I don't want to be that wrong. But I had them out pretty early, so I did not anticipate a whole lot, and I mean, they're there, and I mean, did it well. You know, I mean, yes, it was an exciting game that didn't just blow them out or anything, but still did it well, hung strong, and came up big when they needed to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about you?
I got to go with Ole Miss as well. What a run so far!
Yeah,
just phenomenal. I didn't, you know, they had a good team. We know they have a good team, but
yeah, absolutely.
Just, you know, to make these strides, very, very impressive. And they have a realistic shot to make it to the Elite Eight, which who would have thought that beginning of this season?
Exactly. Honestly, who would have thought that halfway through the conference schedule? Not just beginning of the season, halfway through the conference schedule. If you'd have said, well, obviously Ole Miss is a Elite Eight choice. No, no, it's not obvious. So, I mean, good for them.
Staggering,
good for
staggering.
Yep.
Well, let's talk a little bit about transfer portal, which opened today for college basketball, and already hundreds of basketball players have entered into the portal, including some from teams that are still playing in the NCAA tournament.
Which is just crazy.
Isn't that?
And it's just the world we live in, I know, but crazy. Just
wait a week, wait 2 weeks.
Exactly. And there ought to be something that in place that eliminates that. That it shouldn't even be an option. But anyway.
But if anybody knows about the transfer portal, it is TJ Finley, the former LSU, Auburn, Western Kentucky, Texas State quarterback, is now going to Tulane.
He's been on a 5-school wave. That ends in a green wave.
Is that what, 5 schools in 6 years?
I mean, yeah, exactly.
So
that's just.
I mean, he's got incredible talent. He's a very talented quarterback. Played at Ponchatoula here in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. Just hasn't connected any of these places. I guess I don't know. I don't understand the jumping around from year to year like that.
No, I don't either. And again, it's the world we live in. But and I get the conversation about players should be able to leave as long as coaches are able to leave. But I mean, this is an example of why.
Yeah.
What are we? Is this really improving the game? 5 schools in 6 years. I mean,
you hit on something we could talk about in another show. Is that the difference between how we view players transferring and coaches?
Yeah.
When the DeVries news broke out of West Virginia, Jay Billis tweeted, "Just a reminder that the coaches transfer portal is always open."
Yep.
And it does devastating damage to programs, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I do think that that creates the need for a transfer window. But again, 5 schools in 6 years, this is not improving a game, and honestly, not improving the student athlete experience either.
Yeah.
There's nothing about this that is a, oh, well, obviously when he's at his 5th school in 6 year, that's going to be the ultimate outcome for him. It may still end up, he might have a great year at Tulane, but it's still been a very up and down, inconsistent student athlete experience, and that's not supposed to be the point.
Yeah, and of course we're not in TJ Finley's shoes, so we don't.
Absolutely.
But there were coaching changes at these places.
Yeah.
LSU and Auburn. I don't know about Western Kentucky, but I know the first two there were major coaching changes.
Yep.
And he kind of found himself as basically the odd man out. So, you kind of sometimes know that the writing's on the wall when a new coach brings his new staff in, and he's got his own ideas and he has his own. This is the quarterback he wants, and you don't really fit that mold. So you realize it may be best time for me to fly, time to move on.
Absolutely. And again, just like we were talking about with NIL stuff, he's working within the system that's been set up. So, I mean, he's not doing anything wrong. Even if it's not the optimal student experience, he is taking advantage of the opportunities in front of him to try to find the best possible outcome.
Yeah, of course, we wish him the best. Let's move on to some other big news. Here we go, talking about record-setting achievements of the SEC. All 9 gymnastics squads in the SEC, all 9 received national seeds in the NCAA gymnastics tournament. Again, we don't watch gymnastics much. If you go watch some of these events at the arenas are full.
Yeah,
it's amazing the support that's out there. And so congratulations to all 9 SEC squads.
Yep, fantastic. And congratulations to LSU for winning the conference championship. So
absolutely. Don't forget to say that.
No,
did you ever do gymnastics growing up?
Well, I was this is going to surprise you, but on the balance beam and the parallel bars, I was a whiz. No, I never did.
I got pretty good at tumbling after the first time playing football, and I realized you got to keep your head on a swivel because someone's going to try to take it off. And I didn't realize it was humanly possible to roll for that long of a distance, but it is. So maybe I missed my calling.
Anything involved with gymnastics and me, the default ended up being tumbling because that's kind of what I was. So no, it was not my thing.
Well, let's talk about something that we know a little bit more about, and that is basketball and our Sweet 16 picks. Darren, you have them up there. In case you don't know, the red X is a bad thing. And there's a whole bunch of red X's. I haven't seen this much red on a paper since I was in high school in math class. This is like I just got my geometry or algebra 2 assignment back. Oh my goodness.
Or a college paperback. I used a lot of red on that too.
Did you write your own college papers?
Yeah, I have enough red ink that I can prove I did. Yeah.
Pretty smooth, my friend. Pretty smooth.
Well, let's move on to something we maybe can do better at this time. How about that?
Yeah. I think our show therapist told us we need to focus on positive things.
Moving forward. Can't change the past. Move forward.
So here we are in the Sweet 16. If you'll notice on the screen on the left are my Sweet 16 picks. On the right are Darren's Sweet 16 picks. A lot of similarities. For example, we both have Auburn and Florida making it to the Elite Eight. Is that the Elite Eight or Final Four? No, that's the Final Four.
The Final Four, yeah.
That's the
Final
farthest
four. Right, yeah.
Yeah. So we have Ole Miss I have Ole Miss beating Michigan State because I believe in my conference. Darren, you just like Tom Izzo? What's the deal?
Here's the thing. If you remember over our history, is this our fourth? Is this our fourth time to make picks? I believe.
I don't know.
I think it's our fourth season making.
Seems like we've been here forever.
We'll go with 4. Whether that, and I think if you were to go back and watch and or listen to those 4 years, every single time I picked against Tom Izzo, I was wrong. So I'm going to go with Michigan State.
I like Tom Izzo. He's a great coach, Hall of Fame coach. It's hard to pick against him. I like what Ole Miss is doing here, and I think they may pull it out. And, we've been around so long, Darren. We remember it wasn't the field of 64. We remember it was like the field of 8, and they were playing with a peach basket. Have you seen that Capital One? Is it Capital One commercial where Charles Barkley and he busts the only basket they had left?
Basket they had, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great commercial.
It reminded me of, did you ever see the SNL skit with him playing basketball one-on-one against Barney?
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, he just beats up poor Barney. Look it up. It's hilarious.
I was to say, that will be in the YouTube links. By the way, we'll find that on YouTube and add a link.
In other news, Ole Miss isn't the only surprise. Arkansas has played extremely well, including a major upset against St. John's, a 2 seed.
Yeah.
Of course, Arkansas being a 10 seed, we both have them advancing to play Florida. Florida beating Maryland, Arkansas beating Texas Tech, which will be another big upset if Arkansas is able to do it. Mm-hmm. And we both have Florida and Arkansas playing, and both of us have Florida making it to the Final Four. How about Florida in that game against Connecticut? Wow.
Oh, that was great.
That was one of the best games of the tournament.
Yeah, it really was. It was super exciting. And Hurley, all right, I just had to get that in. Whatever.
Sometimes you just should not say anything.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes the rule, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. It's there for a reason. It's just hush. It'd be best for you.
Now Auburn's going to. Oh, go ahead.
I don't want to say that to spoil. It was a great game, regardless of after game shenanigans or afterwards, whatever. That was a fantastic game, and like you said, truthfully, probably one of the top games of the tournament, if not the top game so far. Yeah,
regardless of how you want to characterize Connecticut's year, they were the 2-time defending champs.
Absolutely.
And no champion goes down without a fight. You're going to have to play your absolute best to knock off the champ. I think Florida did. This game, this test is going to make them even stronger, I think, here on out.
Agree completely.
Auburn had their hands full with Creighton. They're going to have a tough one against Michigan. But I think they will advance to meet Florida, and I think we both agree on that.
So, I agree completely. I think Auburn is going to I think they're going to show us they ramp up at the right moment. I think they're going to take it to a next level. I'll be surprised if they don't. I'll say it that way.
Mm-hmm. And let's go over and look. We both have Alabama and Tennessee in the Final Four. How are they going to? Or no, you have Houston in the Final Four. We'll get to that in a second. In the Sweet 16, we have Alabama beating BYU. BYU is a really tough team, and they're playing very well. We think Alabama gets past them. They'll face top-seeded Duke. Duke has played extremely well. By the way, they are the only ACC team left in the tournament. Can you believe that?
That's really amazing.
Sweet 16.
About how strong the ACC is typically.
Here's another staggering fact, Darren. In the Sweet 16, there's not a single Big East team.
Wow. That's right. No UConn, no Villanova, no. Very interesting. And since we're throwing out fun facts about the Sweet 16, I wanted to throw this out. Last year, at the end of the season, John Calipari leaves Kentucky, goes to Arkansas. Mark Pope leaves BYU, comes to Kentucky, and BYU hires a new coach. and now all three of those schools are in the Sweet 16.
Sometimes
pretty incredible.
Just work out. Yeah,
that's pretty incredible. And how many years has it been since Kentucky or Arkansas, either one, have been there? I mean, and not this enormous amount of time, but it had been a few years, so pretty incredible.
Yeah. We have in the Sweet 16 Houston beating Purdue. We have Tennessee beating Kentucky, which I kind of had to step back from that, Darren, because Kentucky's beaten Tennessee twice this year.
Yeah.
Already. Do they have their number, or does Tennessee third time's the charm? I think Tennessee beats Kentucky. You obviously agree with that, where that will put them up against a monumental matchup against a great Houston team, where, again, because I support my conference, I've got Tennessee moving into the Final Four, and you have Houston. So just when the Tennessee fans start to warm up to you, you pull these shenanigans, Darren. You got to let go of this bitterness. It's going to destroy you.
I tell you, I honestly believe if Tennessee would have faced just about anybody else that's in that on this bracket, if it would have been adjusted even slightly to where they faced somebody other than Houston, I think I could have easily pulled the trigger on Tennessee. But man, Houston's good, and I know Tennessee is talented with Ziegler and with Lanier, and I know really honestly when you look at the Kentucky-Tennessee game, the sole reason that I said Tennessee was going to win that is I don't think you beat a Rick Barnes team 3 times in 1 year, and then when you take the talent that this team has and add that on top of Rick Barnes' coaching ability, I mean. Still could be a good game, but I think it will be. But I just don't think you can do that. I don't think you can beat a Rick Barnes team 3 times in 1 year. But then when you look at the matchup of this Houston team and what they bring to the table, I mean, if Tennessee proves me wrong, that's absolutely incredible. I mean, think about that. An all SEC Final Four potential that could be that could be incredible. But I think Houston could be the standalone kind of outlier because man, they're good and fun to watch.
Darren, if this podcasting thing doesn't work out, you might think about politics. Did y'all hear the hypothetical he threw out there? If it had been anybody else, I mean, you can't really prove a hypothetical right or wrong. We don't know if you would or not because it's hypothetical.
But so you have to believe me.
is that an olive branch? I don't know. You've taken too many digs at the Tennessee fans over the years. Can they believe you, Darren?
They have to because they can't prove me wrong. How's that?
Darren Shavers, 2028. Oh, goodness.
So it would be incredible having an all SEC Final Four. You're talking about taking all the naysayers and all the negative critics and saying, that would be an incredible moment.
Yeah, I think even if you get 2 or 3 SEC teams in there.
Absolutely.
But your point is well taken. Houston is solid. They're well coached. That will be an incredible game, Houston and Tennessee, to watch.
Super fun to watch.
It could easily go either way.
Yeah.
So our Final Four, just to review, Darren has Auburn, Florida, Alabama, and Houston. I have Auburn, Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee. So one of us has an all SEC Final Four. The other one has 75%, 3/4 Final Four SEC teams. So either way, it looks like SEC representation, if we're right.
That's right. If we're right. And like you said, honestly, even if we're wrong on a couple of these and it ends up being 50% of the Final Four is SEC, still pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And if we get them all wrong, then that's why we don't have millions of listeners. I mean,
and that's also why YouTube has a delete button. We could just pretend like this episode never happened.
If we're wrong about all of them, hey, we're just going to keep talking about West Virginia, I guess, because
we're still just as right as all the other experts that are on other channels. Just saying.
Yeah.
I'll stand by that.
That's right. Thank you for listening, watching. Hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to us. And I'm talking to you guys up in West Virginia that have been listening to us.
That's right.
We'd love you to be a part of the ride here. SEC, if you love SEC, this is a great podcast for you. Episodes come out every Tuesday. Enjoy that March Madness. The men's tournament kicks off again Thursday. The women's tournament's going on now. Catch all these games. They're terrific games, and you won't be disappointed. We appreciate your support so much. So until next time, Darren, you look like you were on the verge of saying something.
Even in the midst of all this craziness of basketball, there's still baseball and football out there to find. Enjoy. That's all.
Y'all take care.
Have a great week. Thank you for making the Brew and Shaver Sports Podcast your go-to sports show. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our show if you haven't already. Your feedback is important. Let us know what you think about this week's show. Send an email to brewandshavers@gmail.com or text to our text line 318-390-3599. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you again for listening to the Brew and Shaver Sports Podcast. See you next week.